Hey everybody, I'm Eric Oberembt, and you're listening to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. We talk about real shit, what's on our minds, and don't give a fuck if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for some real shit. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberembt. Housekeeping, as we do every time, stole this from Andy Frisella. We don't have sponsors so that we can say whatever the fuck we want, whenever the fuck we want. So cost of admission is sharing this shit. If you hear something that you feel is valuable, that can help you, help other people, it would really mean a lot if you would use your platforms to help us get the word out and tell people about what we're talking about here, because I selfishly think that it's all really fucking important. So I'm super excited today to introduce my guest. We just met about a month or two ago and just really connected. And I thought that it would be a lot of fun to have him on the show. Jared, how do you say last name?
Bringhurst.
Bringhurst. Yep. Okay. Yep. I always throw a fucking K in there.
That's all right.
And I don't know why. I feel like an asshole for that. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
really
thanks for coming down. So you're in Texas to speak at another event.
Yep.
And happen to be up in Dallas, and so that's about 3 hours away from here. And the nice gentleman that you are, you decided to come down and spend a little time with us today.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it.
Know where I'd rather be. Thanks for having me.
I don't believe that, but I appreciate the fact that you said it.
I spent 3 hours in a car in 90 degrees, man.
That's right. Right.
That's not proof.
You didn't have air. I want to tell people, I want to start out with kind of how we got to know each other, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's really funny. I talk a lot about connection, right? And one of our previous guests was a guy by the name of Andrew Schultz. And I actually went to high school with Andrew, and we hadn't talked in 20 years. And then it turned out that he ended up going and getting sober, went through a lot of bullshit in his life, wanted to not have his life anymore, and then ended up getting clean. And now he does, breath work classes and cold plunges and all this really cool shit out in California. And we actually flew out to California, did a tour with like 3 different people that we did interviews with. And what came up from that was how people do end up building connections is through adversity or through, like, we played football together, right? So like we went through battle, for lack of a better term, right? Like we weren't in the military, but like playing in the trenches together, like you go through some shit that people don't get to go through. You know, it's not just, I knew the guy for 20 years, right?
Yes.
I've known a lot of people for a long time, but I didn't go through something with them. And we were thrown into the fucking fire, right?
Trauma bonding.
Like we were thrown into the fucking fire. And I think it gave us a really cool opportunity to get to know each other because we kind of learned how each other were built.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I'll let you kind of start the story or whatever and how it went, just because I've told the story like you have a million fucking times, but I'll let you start it.
All right, good.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we end up in Lake Powell. My first experience of you ever was on a text thread.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Saying that
I
you
forgot
needed,
about that.
What was it? Almond milk and non-dairy something or another.
I need a non-dairy creamer for my coffee in the morning. That's
right.
correct. Yes.
And I was like, all right, this is Eric.
Yep.
And, we end up in Lake Powell.
Well, no, but the end of that story was I then said, anybody that gets me that gets a hand job.
There you go.
Yes.
I was leaving that up to you, whether you wanted to fill in the blank
totally
or not.
fine. Yes.
So,
yeah.
People are fighting over hand
jobs.
And,
yep.
He ended up with a lot of almond milk.
I did.
And so anyway, Sam Taggart, a lot of your listeners probably know who he is, is a very adventurous guy. But not the adventurous guy that's like going to bring all the supplies and make it easy on you. Like, let's go adventure and then we'll figure it out along the way. So, one day we decided to go for a hike, just a little hike, take the boat out about, I don't know, what was it, an hour and a half from our houseboat?
Yep.
Hour and a half. So I'm thinking, good, we're going to go. We got 10 of us. We pull in.
We go down a tributary that's probably another 1.5 miles long.
Yeah, like the
8 foot wide.
Canyons
8 foot wide.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then it opens up into this little bay. Mm-hmm. And then he says,
and keep in mind, bay meaning like 100 feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tiny little bay in Lake Powell. And then we got to get out of the boat, except where we're getting out is this steep cliff, essentially.
Right.
So Tom, my friend, who is an outdoorsman, we climb up, drop a rope down. So picture this, you got to drop a rope to get people up. We've got a couple women, and then all the dudes, and we get everybody up. We go for a hike.
And that was a shit show just to get started.
Total shit show. Sam ties up the boat. We all go for a hike for like 2 hours in, and then they want to keep going. And Eric and I look at each other and go, we're not moving.
I'm good.
We're done.
Yeah.
So we sit in the shade, hang out, wait for them. And wait for them.
And wait.
Looking at the sun going down. We're like.
And we know we got 40 minutes back.
Easy.
Yeah.
And they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying, okay, my friend Tom is an outdoorsman. They'll be okay. He's with them. So we got 5 of us that waited and 5 that went. And so, you know, you and I are talking and hanging out and getting to know each other. And then finally we decided we got to go back.
Right.
It's getting dark.
Right.
Like,
because we don't know where we're going, really.
Where we're going. We don't know where they are.
Right.
So we hike back.
Light being preferred while we're trying to walk back.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're talking, hanging out, walk back, we're cruising back, and, you know, there's a couple there, they're kind of bickering, and, you know, Eric and I are laughing and going and moving, and we get back and we turn the corner, and it's two things down. One, and then
before that, though, you forgot how we were fucking halfway back, and we hear her screaming.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
So we hear one of the gals that's with us start screaming, and we're like, oh my God, somebody's hurt and fell down a cliff and died. So that's first panic.
That's right.
Moment where we're like, shit, how are we going to helicopter somebody out of here? Because keep in mind, for everybody, we have no phones.
No service.
No cell service, even if we had phones. No Wi-Fi, obviously.
Sun's going down.
Sun's going down. And no water.
Yeah.
No fucking water. We're all out of water.
I mean, she's in a G-string.
Correct. Correct. Did not dress for the hike.
No.
Did not dress for the hike.
No.
So we end up finding out after maybe another 30 minutes that no one's hurt.
Yeah. She
Okay.
just got lost and was walking in a circle and couldn't find her way and kind of scared.
So we continue walking back.
So that increases the stress level.
Correct. Yes.
And then we keep walking and we get to the place where you drop down two little shelves. So I climb down and I get on the first shelf and I look down and I look back up at Eric and I look back down and I'm all, the boat's gone.
Right.
And he goes, the fuck it is.
It's exactly what I said.
The boat's gone, man. And I'm looking and it was supposedly parked in this little crevice. So I think, maybe I just can't see over it enough. So I start throwing little rocks over it to hopefully hit the boat.
Yeah.
No, just water.
Water.
So now it's almost dark.
Right.
We're now sitting on this shelf. Our friends are still not back yet.
Gone.
We have no idea where they are. We
no
can't
way to
hear
communicate
them. We're
with them.
whistling, nothing.
Yeah.
And the boat's gone.
Yep.
So the girls are hiking, like climbing, scaling across this rock. Just picture like a 45-degree or more pitch. It's straight down into the water, and the girls decide they need to go across because it's flatter over there.
And keep in mind, once you get down there, you're fucked because we don't have the rope anymore. So, like, you can't get back up. Like, you're stuck there.
And I don't, I just barely meet these guys. I'm not going to tell them what to do.
Right.
And so they start scaling. First woman makes it across. Second one in the G-string bikini is freaking out, scared out of her mind, but now she's too far gone to
come back up. Yeah.
And it's slick rock. So if you've ever seen slick rock, it's kind of grippy, but man, it's like razor blades if you fall on it. So she's going, help, walk me through it. And I'm trying to keep her calm, just breathe.
You were doing a really good job at that.
You're gonna make it.
Yeah.
And then she starts slipping.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. Once you start slipping, you're done.
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
And it goes straight down on her ass. I'm like, just relax. Because I didn't want her to tumble and catch something. Boom, into the water. Her ass is bleeding.
Yes.
She's hurt. She's crying. The other woman's down there helping her. Now she's wet in the water, can't get back up, needs my shirt for her, ass.
Yes.
And now Eric and I are looking at each other like, what the fuck?
And now it's dark.
And it's dark.
Now it's
no
dark.
boat, no friends.
Right.
She's upset. And then about 20 minutes later, Sam, in his true fashion, walks over the ridge. Hey guys, what's going on?
Correct. But and right before that though, like we had while all that was going on, right? They got down to the bottom.
Yeah.
But I think the defining moment was we had about 15 to 20 minutes alone, right?
Yes.
Where it was kind of just me and you.
On that
the
shelf.
other dude was like off because he was kind of huffing and puffing because he was in an argument. And Jared and I just fucking look at each other and we both go, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's like we're both like successful alpha business owner fucking people who figure shit out on a daily basis. This is what we do. We figure shit out, and we're both looking at each other going, dude, I'm out of fucking ideas.
Where are we going to sleep at this point? It's
yes,
like
we literally started looking for flat places to sleep, how long we could go without having to drink the lake water.
Yes.
Figuring out how could anybody ever even come back here.
Are our friends ever going to get back? Are they okay? What's going on with them?
Right. They're in the dark. Yes. Right. And what we're going to do. And we literally started looking for flat places to sleep. But I literally had a moment internally where I was like, this might be it.
Yes.
Because I was like, no one's coming this way, right? No one's coming down that tributary, maybe for a week, 2 weeks, right? Like you have no idea.
No clue.
And nobody can like ping us.
Yeah. And we don't know if our boat got stolen.
Right.
Or where it is.
Yes.
We just know
that
it's
was
gone.
the only time I got really mad because I was like, if somebody fucking stole the boat.
Somebody did this, that is
they
nasty.
Literally like set us up to die.
Yes.
Like literally set us up to die. And to have that moment though of holy fuck, this could be it.
Yeah.
That's when you find out kind of what people are made
who they
of.
really are.
Yes.
Yes. It's that moment where you've got to, where the reality of it sinks in and you go, and this is anywhere in life, but you go, okay, this really might be going really poorly.
Yeah.
And now what?
Right.
And
neither of us had anything.
Nothing. We were just like, all right. And the cool thing about it though, like hanging out with you that whole time in the, you know, in all of the stuff there and back, it was like, I don't know, it was almost like we turned into each other like, yes, it's all good. Like whatever it is, right, we'll go through it. And we weren't overly dramatic or pissed or edgy, or it was just like, all right, we're going to deal with reality. And that's one of the things I learned about you is you're really good at just dealing with what's so and going, okay,
right,
if this is what's so, now what?
Right,
like,
right. And I think that's what we both found in each other.
Yeah.
And that's why we connected, because we were both like, okay, we can only control what we can control. Yeah. I can't control that, you know, I want to be pissed off at someone. Yes. Right? Because we did. Like we wanted to be pissed off at whether it was Sam or it was whoever took you, Sam. It was you, Sam. But you know, if you wanted to be pissed off at Sam or you wanted to be pissed off at the mythical person who stole the boat.
Right. Or whatever.
Or who didn't tie it up right.
Yes.
Right. Or whatever it was, if it drifted down this fucking canal. Yes. Because also keep in mind, for people listening, to give you a visual of it, there's no beach line. No. Right? It's sheer fucking rock straight down. So you can't just like walk down a beach or a mud path or something to go look for a boat or even walk back to civilization. Yeah. Right? Like there's nowhere to walk. We were literally in a desert that had a man-made lake.
Yeah. And they call them slot canyons because it's literally cliffs on each side and then water, which is why that was so slippery. And it was just one place where it just gradually goes into the water. Right. And yeah, I mean, we're dealing with two women in the water now. It's dark. We don't know where our friends are. We don't know where our boat is. And we don't know where we're going to sleep or if we're ever going to make it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Sam comes whistling over the fucking corner.
Dixie.
Hey,
like
guys.
He's had the best day of his life.
Yes. So much. We had so much fun. We had so much fun looking at the canyon. And we're like, fuck you. The boat's gone. Oh, my God. And he says, of course, like, no, it's not. Like, obviously, nobody believes us. Just like I didn't believe you, you know, that it was actually gone. Yes. And then what was probably the most frustrating part of the whole thing was when homeboy happened to just be high enough up and he walks 100 feet down, but he's up just high enough, higher than any of us could get because we walked around that corner. Yeah. Right. And goes, found it.
Yeah. It floated around the corner and down. But, you know, you and I are sitting there. Remember, to get up this thing, we had to use ropes.
Right.
So for us to climb back up, by the way, leave the two women alone.
Right.
And then go look was like, it was risky and then come back in the dark.
And we had like a light. They did have a light.
Exactly.
Yeah, they did have a light. Yep. And they found the boat. And that moment and we were both really quiet.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Like we were both very quiet during the whole thing and just kind of observing, keeping everything kind of internal. Yes. Like, okay, well, we're not going to die. Yes. Right. Until we started driving back. Then I thought we were going to die.
Then there was another.
I think I was more scared.
1,000%.
Driving through that fucking canyon because Sam felt like we had to go 80 miles an hour through the canyon because he had to prove something to somebody. Yes. To get through that canyon, I thought, because if we'd have hit that rock when he had to slam back, then we were done. Yes. Because there was nowhere to go. That boat would have sank.
100%.
And we would have had nowhere to swim because there was like, at least where we had that little bulkhead to sit on.
Yes.
Right. And wait.
Yeah.
But like we couldn't wade, wade water for however long.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Lake Powell, just imagine you've got cliffs on each side. It's pitch black. By the way, there's no moon that night.
The moon was below
the horizon,
line.
so we can't see anything. We have these tiny, shitty like headlamps
and our phones
and our phones.
Yeah.
And Sam, God bless his soul, is flying through the canals, and Lake Powell's so low that you never know, even if you can't see it, where there's a rock right underneath, which we found out later as well.
Correct.
But it was actually a really good thing. One of the things that I've been saying in my life is surrender in the last like year and a half.
Yep.
And I remember specifically because look, I've driven race cars. I've been the crazy driver that people are freaking out, and I hate driving passenger in anything.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I don't have control. I know what I'm capable of. I don't know what he is.
Yep.
And so I remember sitting in that boat at one point because I just started getting anxiety, and I realized I'm just going to surrender. I've got no control. I'm going to trust Sam.
Yeah.
I'm going to give up this illusion that I've got any control. I'm going to stop making him more nervous because I know every time I question him, he's getting more shaken up. So I was like, I'm just going to breathe. And then
we almost slammed into a wall.
We almost slammed into a wall. And an hour and 20 minutes of pitch black, working our way through these canyons, finally see the heavens part.
Yes.
And there's the houseboat lights.
Oh, my God.
In the distance.
And then somehow missed what I hit the next morning.
Yeah, the next morning, Eric rams the boat into this underwater rock that had we hit going 30 miles an hour, we'd have been toast.
We'd be dead. I mean, because we would have all flown out of the boat.
Sure.
We would have all
in the middle of the night, we're all out trying. It would have been bad.
Yeah, it was such an experience. But I remember once we got back, and the next, I think we had another 2 days.
Yep.
Maybe there, right?
Yep.
But that next 2 days, it's amazing what an experience like that does for the group.
Yes.
Right. And then who gravitates towards whom.
Yes.
Right. And I think that set us up to be able to have those conversations, you know what I mean? That maybe wouldn't have, just because we opened up and like we saw the vulnerable side of the other people and how certain people reacted and how certain people, reacted differently.
Yeah.
I think it's just a lesson that people can get is find those people, right? Because again, we talk about this all the time. What's the hot topic right now? Every fucking lecture you hear, every speech you hear, it's all about who do you surround yourself with, right?
Yes.
Like that's who makes you who you are. Yeah. Like everybody fucking talks about it, right? Yep. But I think that the question is always, how do you find those people?
Yes.
Right? Not do it. Well, great. Yeah. Well, I want to fucking hang out with him. Well, he doesn't want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we happen to be, so a couple of things about that. The connection, I believe, exactly what your podcast talks about, be authentic, right? Or get the fuck out. And the be authentic part is, I think that's one of the things that most bonds people, period, end of story. And as a culture, we don't tend to just walk around being quote unquote authentic, which I don't know what your definition of that is, but for me, it's really telling the truth about the stuff people don't want to tell the truth about. Okay. And I used to tell people all the time, like, the first person to tell the truth wins. Mm-hmm. And it goes to that quote, the Marianne Williamson quote that says, shine your light, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's that shine the light could be shine the light on, I'm scared. Right. Shine the light on, I'm scared to go start my business, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I've got imposter syndrome, and I'm actually worried about what people think of me, but I'm going to walk up anyway. Or like whatever that light is that gets people together. The thing that causes that circumstantially are really hard workouts.
Yep. Yep.
Right? You go sweat really hard with somebody over time, you're bonded.
Yep.
You go shed blood.
Yep.
Military people or somebody that like you bleed together, there's a bond there.
Yep.
Or you cry together.
Yep.
You have a tragedy.
Yep.
Those
have fear
three
together.
Things,
yeah.
Really actually bond people. And one of the things I love to do is create artificial environments to cause that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's one of the things I do jujitsu. It's what I love about jujitsu.
Yep.
I see my best friend owns a school. Other than that, I see everybody there twice a week, and that's the only time I see them. But they're like, brothers and sisters to me.
Yep.
They're my family.
Yep.
Why? Because we sweat together and we struggle together in jujitsu.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I love about authenticity is it's like our experience was like forced authenticity.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And how you react. And so I think there's a lot of definition of authenticity.
Yeah.
The one that I preach a lot is you understanding who you are and who you're not, and not trying to be somebody else.
Great. Love
because that. What I get really frustrated with is, so I watch and listen to all the same people that we all do, right? I watch and listen to Ed. I watch and listen to Andy. I watch and listen to David Goggins. I watch and, like all
Joe
these,
Rogan,
Rogan, right? All these people, like I watch and listen to all of me, Gary V, right? I watch and listen to all these people, but what I don't do is try to pretend to be them.
Yeah.
I try to take things from them to make myself better that hopefully I can implement into my life to grow as a human. Yeah. Because all of the stuff that's being taught today is all not new content. It's all recycled shit from the last however many hundreds of years, right? Yeah. But it's all repackaged by different people because you might connect with person A better than you do with person B.
I've had that exact experience.
And so when you, but it's all the same stuff, right? Like for all intents and purposes, like not everything, but like mostly it's all the same stuff. But when people try to literally brand themselves or be Ed or be Andy, right? Yes. That's where I think you lose credibility and you lose the title of being authentic, right? Yeah. I know that some of the stuff I do runs parallel to those people because I've learned things from them. And that's what we should be doing, is learning things from people that have reached a level that we haven't reached yet, that we're trying to get to. Yeah. But the minute that I stop emulating and I start copying, that's when you completely lose credibility and lose authenticity. And those are the people that I immediately go, ugh. Yeah. Right. And I literally will physically I will back up from them because they make me feel gross. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. I had this exact experience. So I was in what was called the Arate Syndicate. I did the first Arate Syndicate with Ed and Andy. It's one of the 63 people in that. I actually had this exact experience on going through this. So I was successful in business, millions of dollars in business before I started in the syndicate. I'd owned my own businesses since I was 20 years old. I'm 42 now. I get into the syndicate. I go to the first weekend, and now I'm surrounded by people. I've never been surrounded by people this successful before.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I started actually doing that. Like, oh my gosh, I need to live this way. I need to build bigger. I need to make more. I'm nothing. Right. I'm this, I'm that. And I'm listening to Andy and Ed live speak. And I'll never forget this. One day we were in a course and I'm listening to, Andy's like, rah, 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 rah. And there's some people in there, the ones that raise their hand a lot are like, kill, kill, kill. And I'm smashing and I'm more empathetic. Right. I'm much more relaxed. Like, you've been around me now. I'm not a in your face guy like that. Now, some of the people that have worked with me and for me before are probably like, dude, he's intense. Now I can get intense, but I'm not, I don't have that edge 24/7, like the Goggins, like the Andy Frisellas of the world. Right. And I remember raising my hand with Andy. They were doing a Q&A and I said, hey, I just feel like maybe I'm doing something wrong. Like, I don't have the edge you guys do where it's like, cut that person out and move on. I'm like, all I think about is their kids, their family, their friends, their bills. Like, I don't want to just do that. I don't want to be that way with people, but is that what it takes to be successful? I started questioning myself. Right. And I raised my hand and I asked Andy that question and he said, brother, we all need to be a little bit more like you. You should just be you. Right. Own that 100%. And it clicked because I was really confident in myself walking into the syndicate and had less confidence and more insecurity in a couple months of there until he said that of like, am I fucking up? Right. Maybe I'm not going to be successful. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to do that. And I got comfortable in my own skin. And the other thing I realized through being around those people, Ed, Andy, the other people in the syndicate, was how much of my life I was living someone else's dream. My dreams weren't my dreams. My dreams were their dreams. And I realized, damn, I'm not Ed Milet. Right. why do I have Ed Milet's dreams?
Right.
Why am I looking at him? I love Ed Milet.
Right.
But why am I'm not him.
Right.
And I really took for granted, like, wow, what do I want? And it was one of the first times I actually stopped and went, all right, forget the money, forget the business, forget everything. If I didn't need any of that, if I wasn't driven for that, what would I want? And it recalibrated my entire life.
That's awesome.
My entire life.
So what'd you do?
You know, the first thing I did was the math on my daughters.
Love that.
Yeah, this will make me
Love
cry.
that.
My daughter was 11 at the time, and I'm like, I've got 7 more summers with her.
Yep.
7 at my house.
Right.
And I was getting divorced at the time.
Right.
And I realized the number one lie I told, now maybe other people will resonate with this. The number one lie I told as an entrepreneur, and I think a lot of people do, but I'll say it for myself, is I'm doing this for my family.
Yep.
It was bullshit.
Yep.
And here's how I knew. I went to both my girls. So I lost my business. I went bankrupt, lost my dad. My dad died, and I got divorced all within a 2-year period. And I asked my girls, I said, girls, I can rebuild another business and make us a lot of money. We'll take cool trips like we did. We'll have a nice house like we did. We'll have nice cars like we did. Or I can be home more. Which one do you want? How long do you think it took him to answer that question?
Yeah.
1 millisecond.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't know one single 70, 80, 90-year-old man or woman that if I went to them and said, hey, you could make an extra 10 million, 20 million. All you got to do is have less time with your kids.
Right.
Would you trade it? No. I don't know anybody that would say yes to that question. No Ed Milet. Andy doesn't have kids, but he's got nephews and nieces.
Right.
And then I just really was like, well, do I want to look back when I'm 80 and go, shit.
Right.
I missed that time with my kids.
Right.
I just couldn't picture myself being like, I'm glad I missed all that time with my kids to make all that money.
Right.
It just didn't.
No.
So I rearranged my entire life where I've got 50-50 custody every other weekend, every Tuesday, Thursday. I do not work when I have my kids.
Yep.
I just don't. I am not one of those proponents of work your face off.
Yep.
You must sacrifice your entire life, because everybody says work a couple years so you can live the rest of your life like no one does. I've just never seen anybody stop.
Correct. Absolutely.
Show me the person that was like, yeah, I did it for 3 years and then I stopped. It's an addiction.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct.
And work for me was an escape from my marriage, from my kids, from my responsibilities.
Yep.
And all I had to do is say, I go to work and you look good.
Right.
God, it looks good on social media.
Right.
God, it looks good to your friends bragging about 100-hour weeks.
Right.
You know what doesn't look good though? Looking in the mirror and feeling like a shit dad.
Yeah. You know what does look good though is being an amazing dad.
100%.
Showing people that that's what you do and that's who you are and that's who you care about.
Dude, my 12-year-old is more like a 20-something-year-old and is full-blown teenage status, right? It's 2 hours yesterday of her friends and the boys, and her friend wants her to ask this boy if he like blah, 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 right? So everybody's always warned me about my girls when they turn teenagers, and I've always just said, this is what I always tell people. I remember what an asshole I was as a teenager. I'm ready to pay that karmic debt to my mother and my father.
Right.
And I have space for my girls to be anyway. But the cool thing that happened 2 days ago, and this is the payoff of really putting that time in, I get a text from my girl while she's with her mom. Daddy, I really miss you. That's what's the ROI on that?
Yeah. That's what it's all about.
And I still love business. I'm building a business.
Right.
And what I've learned to do is like a teeter-totter. I just look at all the shit I used to do just to be busy, just to say I work hard.
Right.
I just look. If I take one action, how do I get 4 out of it?
Yep.
And I just do that. I just leverage.
And it's about being intentional with the time that you're spending in the time that you're in, right? Like you don't have to be, somebody else said this, not me, but like just because if I stayed home and spent, 7 days at home with my daughter.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that was quality time spent.
Absolutely.
She's not going to remember, oh, daddy spent 7 days in a row with me, right? If I do have to travel, I do have to work, but then I come home and that 5 hours that we have together is extremely intentional.
Yes.
That is what is remembered by her 100%. And by I, because I'm spending the time that I do need to be at work or I do need to be on a fucking plane and I'm tired of fucking planes.
Yes.
But if I'm being intentional with that time and I'm focusing on that so that when I come back,
Yes.
I'm able to be focused and intentional with her now.
Yes.
Then everything can still get done.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And it's, people talk about balance, and I think it's getting more common that this whole balancing is it's not a bullshit conversation. It's a legit conversation, and it's just not possible. There is no 50-50. There is no balance.
No.
But what I love about what you said is 100% doing whatever you're doing. Now, if you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, he is not saying what I'm saying, but he is saying that's for him fulfillment.
Correct.
For me, it wasn't.
Right.
I was trying to live somebody else's dream. I was trying to live Gary Vaynerchuk's life. I was trying to live Ed Milet's life. I was trying to be like Andy Frisella.
Because if it fulfilled them, why wouldn't it fulfill you?
Right. Well, look at them. Look at blah, blah, blah. That's what makes people happy.
Yeah.
That's business.
Right.
So for me, this is what works for now. And I'm also crystal clear that over the last 20 something years, I've developed a set of skills that I can make really fucking good money without having to work my face off.
Right.
So that's the second thing is I also wouldn't want to die going, I made $40,000 a year. I barely scraped by. I was always stressed out around my kids.
Yep.
I had to check out because I couldn't provide a life. I couldn't travel with them, but I spent a ton of time with them.
Right.
I also don't want that story.
No.
So it's kind of both, like but that's the authentic. Like I had to look for myself. I had to stop looking for other people.
And it doesn't mean that it gets easy. Like you still have internal struggles with it. And you're like, man, did I spend enough time doing that? Or did I spend enough time with her?
Yeah.
Did I, you know what I mean? Like I do that still all the time.
Yeah.
And I think, and I consider myself somebody that does prioritize it very well. Cause I mean, you and I are on 1,000% the exact same page.
Yeah.
Right. With that. But that doesn't mean that I still don't have times where I might have to be gone for whatever amount of time. And I'm like, what the fuck did I miss? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
look, last night I was supposed to have my girls. I didn't because I needed to wake up at 4 a.m. with their mom. I won't have them on Thursday. Right. I'm supposed to have them on Tuesday, Thursday.
Right.
And it is that, but that's the piece of really all I want is not every single night. Every night I'm not going to go to bed happy with how I was.
Right.
But overall, over a week or a month or a year, can I be happy with who I was overall?
It goes back to exactly what you said. I do not want to be laying in a bed at 80 years old going, I wish I would have done that different.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like somebody told me that. It might have been Hunter actually on a retreat. And because we had to do an exercise, we were standing in a graveyard and we had to write eulogies from the perspective of the person that we love the most, right? Yeah. And so like I wrote it from the perspective of my daughter, but 20 years later, 40 years later or whatever, right? And I don't ever want to be sitting there and have that be my regret.
Yeah, no.
Like that is so real and so like emotional for me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that as an individual, for people that are listening, excuse me, I think as an individual, you have to figure out, like you said, what is it for you?
Yes.
Right. What we're saying doesn't have to be
it shouldn't
your
be.
deal.
That's the whole point.
Exactly. But you have to take the time like you did to actually figure it out. And if you don't take the time to look inside, write it down, right? Figure out how to accomplish it so that you can have it all. Yeah. Right. And whatever it all means to you.
Exactly.
Right.
Otherwise you end up with this default. Look, you're going to end up with some kind of like future that you want and actions that you take now. Right. It's either going to be default, got put on you by society, parents, friends, family, good or bad, right or wrong, whatever. Or you can examine, and this is what I did. I had to literally take apart and examine like one Lego block after another of where did I get this? Did I create that or did I inherit it?
Right.
And I just broke them down. And quite frankly, I went through probably the darkest point of my entire life. I've had anxiety my whole life that I can remember. Just wake up feeling like a tiger's about to kill me.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't have anxiety, this is the best way I can explain it. I thought people that were happy, and I was like, oh, that person looks really happy. I thought they were fucking liars.
Right.
Because I was like, I wake up every day feeling like something's trying to kill me, and then I have to work myself into the day of not feeling like that, right? And I thought other people were just liars that didn't wake up that way. And so I've always had anxiety, and I learned how to deal with it and channel it and do cool things in business, and it helped me. What I'd never experienced is depression. And I've led personal development programs for free. I've run businesses, hundreds of people, and I've heard people a lot of times talk about depression, and I didn't have a relationship to it.
Sure.
But when I took this apart and started like questioning everything about why I existed, I got depressed. And I mean depressed, like wanted to die.
Really?
Wanted to, yes. I'm glad I'm conscious enough. I did a couple things that was really smart. And if you've never had depression, this shit sounds crazy because it's like, but you have kids to live for, but you have this.
Right.
The problem with, and this is what I can now see being 42 going through this, is the problem with depression is the way it occurs when you wake up is they'd be better off. So I love my kids so much that I'm going to fuck them up and they'd be better off if I wasn't here. This is for them. This is for my mom.
And you had that.
Oh, 1,000%. Every day. And this is what I had to do. I had to make my best friend a promise I wouldn't kill myself because I knew his father had killed himself. I had to make my ex-wife a promise I wouldn't kill myself. She's a therapist. And the people I loved around me, I said, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with it every day. And I promise you I won't do it. So in the moments that it got really dark, I had to remember. I just had to remember, like, okay, I promise him. I just got to make it through a minute. I got to keep going through it. And I woke up every day. And here's what would happen. Every time I drove across an intersection, I just prayed to God a fucking truck hit me. Because then it's like, I didn't do it.
Wasn't your fault.
I didn't do it. But please.
Fuck.
Fucking please. This was a year and a half ago.
How long did that go on for?
Thank God only a couple months. Like
okay.
5-6 months. And I'll tell you what kind of started getting me out of it.
Yeah, well, that was my next question.
Is because you hear a lot of social media people like, take a ton of action, just go blah, 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 just fucking do it, just grind it.
Right.
Which is great on the other side of stuff like this.
Yeah.
But now having gone through it, here's what it took. I had to first celebrate every single small win I could. And when I mean small, I mean, okay, dude, you got out of bed. Nice fucking job, Jared. Like I just made $1 million. Like, great. You did it. You did it. You got out of bed. Okay, you brushed your teeth and you took a shower. Let's go. Okay, great job. Good work. And it was like that, just building. And then once I was
Who told you to do that?
I don't know, man.
Okay, but I mean, did you have
years of personal development and
but there wasn't like a
keep promises.
There wasn't
to
a person.
No, it was literally just like I had to find some way out of the darkness.
Wow.
I had to cling to something. So I just started being like, I can't get, because I had a picture. The thing that really fucked me up too is I had a picture of being really successful. I had a picture of being a 14-hour-a-day work guy that was with everybody and crushing it. Yeah. And now I wanted to be around no one and do nothing. I didn't want to get out of bed. Wow. So I just had to like literally just one tiny thing after another. And then as soon as a little bit of light crack, this is for anybody that experiences this. This was my experience that helped me out of it. Tiny little things I celebrated them. I didn't make myself wrong for celebrating tiny little things, given I'd been successful before. The next one was eating a little bit better and getting my ass outside. 4-minute walk, 2-minute walk. I'm going to walk to the whatever. Get in the outside. And then it started building a little bit of steam. And then I was able to kind of get myself under it and make a little bit bigger promises and start keeping those, working out a little bit more. And the other thing that quite frankly saved my life is that same friend, Brandon, that owns the jiu-jitsu gym, was like, come over to my house 2 hours before jiu-jitsu. We're going to talk. We're going to hang out. I'm going to work on your neck. Wow. I had neck issues. And then we drove to jiu-jitsu every day together. Monday, Wednesday, saved my life.
There was a person though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brandon was.
So do you still have moments that you have to be cognizant?
No.
Okay.
So for me, I don't have like a depression overarching. It was, I think they call it, and I'm not a therapist, my ex is, but I'm not. I think they call it situational depression.
Okay, sure.
So
sure.
My ex and I got divorced, and I fairly quickly got in a relationship with another woman I've known for 18 years.
Right.
Fell head over damn heels in love. We both did. And we moved really quick. She didn't live here. She moved here. It didn't work out. We both ended up with like hardcore broken hearts, had gotten our kids involved, the whole 9 yards, right? So it was more situational, like all of the things that I had gone through, lost a business,
Yep.
And now was lost. And also I'm questioning who I am and what I'm up to.
Were you drinking a lot?
Hell yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing was I'd love to tell people that drink not to drink, but it won't do any good because they're going to.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, no, I was just curious because
is drinking good for you when you're depressed? Hell no. It makes it way worse. If anybody told me not to drink when I was depressed, would I have done it? No.
Right.
But then once I started seeing some light, in fact, once I really got through it, I did 75 hard.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm doing okay. Yeah. Now I want to put some real structure in. Now I'm getting I got my legs underneath me. I feel good. Now I really want to go. And that was like 3-4 months in, boom, 75 hard. And then quit drinking, actually did it for like 95 days and really changed my life.
Wow.
In fact, I finished it like 5 days before we went to Pell.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was.
I've done it twice, and it's a mother.
So yeah, it was really that. And the thing I've always drank, but never been addicted.
Right.
Drinking wasn't my thing. The thing I knew I would get addicted to if I did too much were pills. I felt that a couple times where I had like I got my nose fixed. Yeah. And I remember one day driving home and being stressed out from work and being like, I can't wait to take one of those pills. But I wasn't in pain. But I couldn't wait to take one. And I immediately put them up. I was like, I can't do this. This is not something I can do. Alcohol wasn't my thing. I will tell you though that I've noticed in the personal work I've done, like really true up my life with what I'm up to, alcohol numbs my ability to hear my intuition of what I need to be doing. And it does it for about 2 to 3 days if I have a couple drinks.
Really?
And it heightens my anxiety.
Interesting.
Yeah. Same with food. Sugar.
Really?
Sugar gives me this buzz where I can't hear my intuition and like what's...
Yeah.
It feels like this is going to sound wonky, and I'm not like I guess I am a woo-woo guy. I didn't used to be, but I'm just going to own it now.
I am
but like,
now, yeah.
It feels like if you were listening to a frequency and you can hear the music perfectly, and then if something kind of fucked with it in the speaker, like you have a blown speaker, that's what hearing my intuition sounds like and feels like now when I drink or if I eat shit food.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it goes back to when I drink, I make bad decisions. Right.
Well, yeah,
that's what it was for me. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I get that. And like, it just takes me to the place of, when people will say things like, well, it's not my fault. Like I was fucked up.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, when you're fucked up or if you're doing something that affects you negatively, you make bad decisions, right? Like I did, like I made bad decisions. I chose to drive. I chose to start doing cocaine. I started to run with the wrong, you know what I mean? Like, but if I was clear headed,
you don't do that.
I don't make those decisions because my picker's working.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like my picker's working when I'm not being influenced by something else, because you're being influenced by something that you can't control. Now it's controlling you a little bit, right? Like it's controlling your mind and your brain and your neurons and your, you know what I mean? Like all the sciencey stuff that I don't understand. Right. But it does, that's a real thing. So I mean, the way that you put it though, does make a lot of sense. Like it puts it into perspective. So I love that. I love that a lot. So moving into that, when you did the, how do you, I always say it right? Arete? How do you say it?
Arete.
Arete. Fucking hard word to say.
Yeah. Greeks, man.
Yeah. What got you to do that? Like, because that first round or whatever, because it's like way different now than what it was before.
Very much.
Yeah. Like, what did somebody push you in that direction?
No. So I never had a mentor.
Okay.
In fact, like I grew up, my mom was a teacher, dad was a cop. My mom wanted me to go to school, get good grades, go to college. That's how you be successful. Well, I graduated with a 1.8. In fact, you mentioned Gary V. I have Gary V's signature on my 1.8 report card from high school. I met Gary and got his signature. And, but I followed Grant Cardone. I used to do business with Grant Cardone in my business. And then Grant said something one time about Andy being legit. So I started following Andy. And then I was like, oh, Andy's a really legit business guy. Like you can feel when somebody's a legit business dude.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, this guy's real. And Andy said, the only motherfucker in this space that's real is Ed Milet. And then I was like, well, is this Ed Milet guy?
Who Ed Milet is.
So I started following both of them and I really resonated with Ed.
Yeah.
I love Andy, but I resonated with Ed's expression.
Yep.
And then they started talking about these two guys that I'm following are now going to do this syndicate. You can apply for it.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to apply.
Yeah.
And then I was sitting on my couch in my office and I got a voicemail from an unknown number and I hit play and it's, hey, Jared, this is Ed Milet. Just wanted to welcome you to the Arete Syndicate. You're in with 63 people. And I was like, holy shit, here we go. And so I got in and then met Ed and Andy, and those guys brought everybody in like family.
Yeah. Wow.
And I've still got friends that from that syndicate that I still talk to and hang out with today.
Wow.
And learned a ton and got to be, friendly with both of them, and then got a little bit closer with Ed throughout the process. And, since then have stayed pretty close.
That's amazing. I've told this story before. I think Lexi actually dropped a clip of it the other day because right before his book came out, I had heard him speak at RoofCon a year or so ago, and that was one of the first times.
Was it Door to Door Con or RoofCon?
It was RoofCon.
Okay.
I heard him at Door to Door Con.
Okay, cool.
Briefly, but then I saw him again at RoofCon, and he did a different speech.
Yeah.
And when he in the speech that he did at RoofCon that really resonated with me is because I think it was one of the first times that he started telling a story about his dad.
Yeah.
And that story about his dad, like, it affected me so hardcore because of my past and because of my history and being sober and having
had his dad passed at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And having Roofers in Recovery and having our nonprofit and trying to help people and literally like getting the phone call, like that phone call that he talks about that his dad got right before he died. I mean, you don't understand how many times I've gotten that phone call, right? That phone call of me having to say, hey man, just don't do it today. Like we'll worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. Like just don't drink today. Can you make that promise to me? And then tomorrow you call me and we'll get through tomorrow. And of course the way that he tells it, like he's by far like the best speaker I've ever been a part of, like listening to, just the way he's able to craft a narrative and like get you emotionally involved, in his story. It's not just telling.
I can give you a little insight into what made him so good at that too.
I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
It touched me so much that, I mean, I started telling that story to people I knew just to get them to understand, and then as soon as that book came out, like I made it our book of the month at our company that everybody, needed to read it so that we could all, do it together and learn, something from it. And that's why I'm so passionate. Like I've literally said this to every single fucking guest. And I told it to you too. I am still on a fucking path that I'm getting to him somehow to tell that fucking story in the documentary that Lexi is filming for us. Like I am absolutely, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to make it happen, but I'm going to get him somehow. I'm going to get him and I'm going to get Theo Vaughn. That's the other one that I want to get because I didn't know that he was sober.
Right. Ed, can we make this happen?
Yeah, right. Thanks.
We'll just send him this.
Come on, Ed. But I'm trying to, if I can get him and Theo Vaughn, because to have somebody from the serious like leadership growth world, and then to have a comedian, right, that has went through it. We had Mark Lundholm, who's a famous comedian in recovery.
Okay.
He's got Showtime specials, HBO specials. He's done one-man shows on Broadway and all that kind of stuff. He came to our gala in Denver a month or two ago, and he actually came and did the podcast as well.
That's right.
So I think like 15 years ago, he lived in one of those comedy condos with Theo. So I'm trying to figure out how to take that information, get it to the right people that get to Theo to be like, oh, okay, this guy's legit. He's not just some fucking douchebag that's trying to get me on his show, right? But to be able to get him to tell that story in the documentary, because the intent of the documentary is that it will give us the opportunity to reach so many more people to understand that there is help available, right? Even if you're not in a roofer and Roofers in Recovery, right? Like we did that because like that's our industry, that's our niche. Like we have to have a narrow focus, right? But the documentary is for everybody to understand that there is a way out.
Yes.
Right.
Of whatever it is.
Of whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And to hear stories not just from me and Paul.
Yeah.
Right? Because like people know us in the roofing industry, but outside of that, we're fucking Paul and Eric, right?
Yeah.
But to hear stories from an Ed and a Theo, right, is all of a sudden brings legitimacy to what we're doing, and it's only going to give us more opportunity to help more people. And at the end of the day, that's, it's a nonprofit. We're not making any fucking money. We're just spending time because we want to, because that fulfills us. So again, literally like every fucking podcast, you can ask Lexi, I put it out into the world just in case somebody else sees it. Right. And it's like, fuck, I need to, you know what I mean? Like, cause if you don't put it out there, nothing ever fucking happens. So
that's right.
But okay, so
that's actually exactly how Ed and I started getting a little bit closer. Was my buddy Dave and I were like, dude, we got to get on his jet.
Right.
How are we going to get on his jet? And we literally just concocted this plan.
Get on his what?
Ed's jet.
Oh, his jet.
Yeah, his plane.
Okay, I thought you said shit.
And so,
I'm like,
no.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Up on his shit. No, his jet. His jet.
Okay.
And we created this thing. We threw it out in the universe. And then Dave created a website, sent him a bottle of tequila, told him to go to the website, click yes or no. Can we ride your plane? Anytime,
no fucking
we'll
way.
meet you anywhere. And Ed was like, all right, if you guys can get to Laguna when we go to Arete in St. Louis, ride. And Dave and I went. We rode Ed's plane
for real
to Laguna. I'll tell you a couple things about Ed. They say don't meet your heroes. That's bullshit. Ed, as cool as he is online, I told you this. I'll tell everybody this. I tell everybody that meets him. Ed, for his persona online of how good he is and nice he is and kind he is and all that, he is a better man than he looks like he is online. And I can say which is 100%. Crazy. When my dad passed, he called or messaged me almost every single day. My dad suddenly died. I went to dinner with him on a Thursday. He died on my birthday on a Monday. And same thing when I got divorced. And this is to say, like, he's a good man, which points at what has him be a good speaker. Right. He doesn't speak ever for himself. Right. He is always only speaking to make the biggest impact he can possibly make for the human beings out in the audience.
And it's genuine.
1,000% genuine. Yeah. And that's all he lives for, is making a difference for other human beings. He's one of the most selfless, good people I've ever met.
That's crazy.
He's a good dude. So
what an opportunity to be able to have that opportunity, like to have that connection for a little while. You know what I mean? Like, because obviously I'm sure it changed you. Yeah. It changed me, and it really just reassured something for me. And, people say rich people are X, Y, or Z, or people are this, that, or the other. And I just have never believed that. I've never bought into that. And I love the saying, like, rich people aren't any certain thing, that just money amplifies who you really are.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
And it's definitely done that with Ed. And I mean, Ed got wealthy before he came in the spotlight. He literally came in the spotlight to make a difference. Right. And if you're going to role model somebody that's out to make a difference, whether it's him or somebody else.
That's awesome. Okay. So here's what we do at the end of every episode. I literally just want to give the floor back to you, because I know that we went for almost an hour, right? It felt like 20 minutes, right? Yes. But I know that I always either forget something that was maybe in the back of your mind, like, boy, I wish I could talk about that, or something that we did talk about, but we missed the little channel to go down to really land the plane on it. So I always give the floor back to the guest to be able to wrap up anything that you want to make sure that the people listening take from this and are able to take away and, either implement into their lives or just something to learn. Yeah, for sure. So I would say the number one thing that's helped me, I've been through adversity, not as heavy as a lot of people. Like, they always tell you, if you put all your problems in a pile with everybody that you look up to, you take your own back. You wouldn't trade lives with any of them. And for me, what helps me consistently is I think of my life as a big book. And I'm like right here in the book. And during really, really, really hard times, when I was losing my business and sitting on the floor of my empty office crying, or filing bankruptcy, or a divorce, or, any of a myriad of other things, I just think of it as like, okay, this is a really important chapter in my book that's going to make a difference and all make sense in the end. Books always make sense in the end, but not always in the middle, especially if it's a good one. Right. Like, especially the best ones never make sense. Yeah. So the heartache and the pain, and when I'm in those moments, even when I was super depressed and, literally was like wishing I would die, was like this little glimmer of like, yeah, but this is just a chapter in that book. And you were able to have that self-awareness. Yeah. Well, I really created that throughout my 20s and later. Like, I just came up with this idea of like, that's my life. My life's a book, and I'm just going to, and it's helped me through those hard times of being like, yeah, but Jared, remember, this is just that chapter. This is just that chapter. I just kind of tell myself that, even when I'm like, the other side of my brain's like, yeah, bullshit, dude, you're screwed. Right. Like, that's cute. But like, it always makes sense. If you think of every bad thing that's ever happened to you that's like 5 years or more old, you're glad it happened. Right. There's not a whole lot where you're like, I wish that didn't happen. Right. Because if it hadn't, you wouldn't become who you are today.
Right.
Because I have to
have
have that.
saying that, you're not through it yet.
I have to have that conversation with myself. You know, like even when I'm in, you know, if I go to a recovery meeting or whatever it is, and we talk about this a lot, is people will ask me, you know, do you regret? Because like I did a lot of bad shit for a long period of time and hurt a lot of people and like changed lives negatively. That, you know, that there's obviously days you're like, man, I wish that wouldn't have happened. Right. But then I have to take that moment to be self-aware to go, I wish it wouldn't have happened, but I thank God that it did, because if it hadn't, I wouldn't be who I am or where I am today, because if I couldn't have taken that lesson or if I couldn't have taken that moment, it shaped who I was. Yeah. Right. Or it shaped who I am now. Yeah. And that is a really hard thing though, I think, for a lot of people. It's really hard to accept that. But once you do, it gives you this amazing freedom to be able to be you and to be okay with the shit that you had to go through, whether you were fucking depressed or abused or a drunk or a, you know, like whatever you did, it gives you that freedom to be okay now.
Yeah. And not have to, that's the other thing is, if you're not okay, don't hide it.
Right.
It's like,
because there's a lot of people not okay.
Most people are not okay.
Right.
Most people, if they just tell the truth, either aren't okay or have definitely not been okay and can relate to what you're going through.
Yep.
And I think that's probably like the book. And then the other thing that I think really has saved me is I hide nothing anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to share it all, because then I don't have to look over my shoulder.
Right.
Like, I've gone broke. I've taken people's money. I've not paid it back. I have an intention to pay it back. I've got nothing to hide.
Right.
Then I'm not like, wait, which story do I have to keep straight?
Right.
And I used to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I do too.
It just, you know, when they say the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
That's real.
God. And it's such a cliche thing, but it's so fucking true.
Yeah.
Right. It's so fucking true. Yeah. Jared, thank you for being here. Dude, I've had so much fun.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming down and being here. I can't wait for us to like spend more like just time together and hang out and get to know each other even more.
Yeah, man. Bring the almond milk.
You bring almond milk? I'll bring the handies. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for checking in. Please share this shit if you enjoyed it. And remember, be authentic. Get the fuck out. Be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic.